constantly shifting through the time-space continuum, Metron's three disciples observe the universe from the Mobius Couch.
Well, I guess it would be nice if I could touch your body. I know not everybody has got a body like you, but I got to think twice before I give my heart away. And I know all the games you play because I played them too on the way to the Mobius Couch, a time-space interdimensional vehicle from which your three hosts survey the world of comic books, comic book movies, and manga. We've got international. We're everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the couch. I'm one of your three hosts, Alessandro. As usual, I'm joined by my two other co-hosts on the couch. One of them is Joe.
Hello.
Hey, Joe.
Hello, Al.
Hey, Joe.
I love how the intro song always goes like a tad longer than I think it's going to. Like every time.
Yeah,
it's a little bit longer than
that. Of course, was 1988's number one hit single, "Faith" by George Michael.
By George Michael.
Let's introduce our other host, Patrick.
Hello.
Okay,
Patty.
We've all been introduced.
How are you?
I'm good. George Michael, legend.
Legend.
Yeah, rest in power. He's dead, right? Yeah, rest in power. I think he's dead.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Careless Whisper, timeless. Yeah, timeless song. Great. I mean, really lost a good one. But so, right, ladies and gentlemen, today's episode, we're going to talk about Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chiang's Paper Girls. This is a big deal for us because I don't know if listeners probably don't know this. I don't know if Joe, if you want to tell the story, I'll tell the story. But Paper Girls means a lot to us because Joe has always, ever since I've known him, called me his little paper girl.
That's true.
This goes back to we first met at a local pizza franchise named Alessandra's where he was the manager. And every day when I'd show up to work, he'd catch sight of me and smile and go, "Where's my little paper girl?" And I'd raise my hand and say, "That's me."
Like, that's me.
And then he'd tousle my hair in kind of an avuncular, but back when you had sexually hair. Charged way. Yeah. And he'd say, "Who's bringing me the news?" And I said, "I am." And that's how our relationship.
And then he would literally give me the news of the day.
Yeah. Wait. Is that true?
Well, of course it's
not.
True.
Of course not, Patrick.
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Of course it's true.
Yeah, it's totally true. Joe has always called me his little paper girl.
Wait, so it is true.
Of course. It's true. Of course. What did he call you? Did he not have a little pet name for you when you worked at Alessandra's?
I think he just called me Patty, like literally.
Yeah, I called him Patty Boy.
Oh, that's weird. All right, but so back to this comic.
Didn't call Patty my little paper girl. He's a strapping young man.
He's a grown man. He's not. Yeah, no, he's a grown man. He's not a paper
beard when he was 10.
All right, let's focus in on this little comic that we are talking about. Is of course Eisner
Award winner for multiple.
Yeah, multiple. I think also Hugo Award. I mean, like Daytime Emmy. It won it all. Paper Girls.
They got an Emmy for the show.
I did get an Emmy.
I was like, what?
So the Paper Girls is by the creative team is friends of the podcast. They're not really friends. We've talked about their work before. Brian K. Vaughan, BKV, big timer. We've discussed Saga. Is Saga the only? I think that's the only Brian K. Vaughan thing we've done on the comic.
I mean, we've definitely read a lot of his things, and we have them on our list. But for the show, I think it's just Saga that we've talked about. Brian
and Cliff Chiang did the art, and we've done Catwoman Lonely City, which he wrote and drew.
And we did the Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Brian Azzarello's Wonder Woman.
We've been covering Cliff Chiang for a good chunk of his stuff.
I've got to be honest. I never really thought about him as a favorite artist, but he's really I love his stuff. He's really grown up.
Yeah, it's very clean.
Awesome work.
It's very crisp and clean and colorful, especially in this book. It's very colorful, but I really like the color palette.
Yes, this book.
Piggyback off that though. We don't typically call out the colorist, and Matt Wilson is the colorist, and I thought he did a phenomenal job with this.
He does, yeah.
And back to Cliff Chiang, I feel like Cliff Chiang just, he crushes it in general, but when it comes to like wardrobe, he just like nails it.
Yeah, I agree. He's really good at.
So good.
I wasn't 100% sure this took place in the 80s until they literally said it, but like, or I think there's a Reagan sign or something like that, or maybe one of them mentions Dukakis or something like that. But like, but based on the clothing, I was like, oh, this must be back in time, you know, like right away. Like I could tell instantly before I even really knew what was going on.
I don't know. Yeah, but this is how Gen Zers dress now, though.
Yeah, I know. So that's why I was like, well, it could be now.
Yeah, also, it takes place in the suburbs of Cleveland, which probably look the same today as they did in 1988.
Yeah.
So, sorry,
I like
Cleveland.
it. I like it for an instance. Well, let's talk about overall takes, I guess, before we get started.
Oh, yeah, we'll do overall takes first.
Yeah.
I'll go first. I loved it. It was a ton of fun. Page turner. I mean, we'll go into all the details later and everything, but I thought it was a ton of fun. Liked the writing, liked the art, the dialogue and the little quips and jokes. I thought like a lot of them landed. BKV is really like top of his game on jokes in this one. So I liked it.
My overall take, we already talked about the art. The art is great. The coloring is great. Piggyback off of Al's overall take, the quips, the characters, I love. I'm obsessed with Tiffany. Tiff is my favorite paper girl by far. I also love KJ. I was very disappointed that we're only covering the first 2 volumes, so issues 1 through 10.
Oh yeah, we should mention that. Yeah,
and KJ is not present
in most of volume 2,
at all. So that was kind of a bummer. Erin was like a fun protagonist, introvert. She's kind of like the nerdy, smart girl that you identify with. Mac can kind of fuck off. She grows on you over the issues, but like at first she really reminded me of John Connor from Terminator 2.
She does have a very John Connor vibe,
and it just really annoyed me at first. So wasn't a huge fan of Mac. Maybe she gets more likable.
She's the tough love one, and it's like you're like
yeah. So I love the character work. The story is very high concept like Saga, but I felt like the pacing of the first 2 volumes was a little bit too like helter skelter for me. After the first issue, there's like pterodactyls and it's time travel and all this other insane shit's happening. And there's a lot of vocabulary words in the first 2 volumes that they don't define, like breaking curfew, folding, being timelined. And then like the future people talk like in a weird dialect that I wasn't totally.
That was a little annoying. I mean, it's pretty easy to understand, but it's a little annoying. It was almost it was like slightly too clever.
So I love the characters, love the art, the story for the first 10 issues. Pacing was just a little bit too fast for me, I guess. But overall, enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, if you can't tell already, I agree with you guys. Cliff's really grown on me. And I know Al just said that, but maybe this book gave him room to like shine in a way that other superhero books haven't really let him do, perhaps. But this was like kind of the best stuff I've seen him do before, and I really enjoyed every second of it. And it's just crisp and clean and like looks. So it's so easy to read. Like you can easily identify every single thing in the pane and the panel, and then just move immediately on to the next one. And it lends itself to the writing of Brian K. Vaughan that kept the story moving quickly. But I do agree with you, Patty. I think the first 2 volumes, and I didn't read past that. I think Al, you read a little bit past that, but the first 2 volumes, the pacing is just like ever so slightly fast, where I'm just like, whoa, what's like, it was almost like there was like another problem before they'd even figured out one iota of the first problem, kind of thing, like let alone like solved it or whatever. So it moves really quick. So it is a page turner in that regard. You're like, what's going on? And it just makes it so his art makes it so easy to read. The writing makes it so easy to read, but it is a little like, I'm 2 volumes in and I'm not sure I know the story yet. Like I kind of have a handle on it, but like, 10 issues in and I'm kind of going, I don't quite know what's actually happening yet, or what the end game is,
Yeah, I get that. The only thing is I just enjoyed the fast paced because it's just.
Oh, it was good. It was great.
It's just, it moves in a nice clip. And also I've read so much BKV stuff by this point. I just trust him to I know he's going to wrap things up. And explain
that's
stuff.
True.
So I just kind of trust
I'm not worried about it. Yeah. looking into the next 4 volumes, because there's only 6 total, but like looking into the next 4 like I'm sure that's plenty of time for him to wrap the story up and explain what's going on to whatever degree he plans on doing it.
I'm just at a point with like
so good.
Yeah. No, I'm just at a point with BKV where I'm just like I'm just going to trust him for the ride, and I'm all right.
I actually, because this was getting really good reviews, so I bought the first 2 trades like back when it was still coming out issue by issue. And I mean, kind of y'all's point, I was like, I'm going to pause. And now I am interested in reading the rest of it, knowing that it only goes to 30 issues. But after the end of the second volume, not knowing if it was going to go for like 100 issues or whatever, I was kind of like, I don't really know what's going on. And I kind of just lost interest in it. But knowing that it has like a definitive end. I do like most of Vaughan's stuff. I definitely will keep reading it. The other overall take is like, I kind of struggled. Did y'all? Because the main characters are 12 years old. And I was trying to remember what it was like to be 12 years old. Because that is like one of the most awkward years, I think. Because that's like 6th grade. And 6th grade, you go from being in 5th grade where you're hanging out with like,
where you're like the top, you're top tier.
Well, but like the kids in your school, like you're at the same school as like kindergartners. And then you go into middle school where 8th graders are basically like teenagers that hang out with high schoolers.
Yeah, they're giants.
It's like a very jarring shift. And I'm like, was I this mature when I was 12? Like these girls seem to have their shit together. They seem very adult. And I was having a very hard time.
They do and they don't.
Remembering. Yeah. That's why I was like, how accurate is, I don't know. Like,
I feel like this is pretty accurate.
So Patrick, I think I had a similar reaction, but mine was more to, and maybe I lived a sheltered childhood, but like the adult profanity some of these kids are launching is really I was like that when I was 12. I didn't know what those words were.
That's what.
People seem like they just seem like bullies on steroids. I don't mean physical steroids, but like
amped up.
More bully than bully. Like they know like all these advanced like homophobic and racial slurs that like I had no idea even existed when I was 11 or whatever. And they're just launching them around like but I don't know if it's an 80s thing or that part did kind of seem.
Well, on that note, I'm much older than you gentlemen. And I wasn't 12 in 1988, but I was around. And this just sounds normal to me. Not all this tracks. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I guess I look at my niece. Like my niece is 11, and she doesn't seem as mature as these girls. But at the same time, I'm like, well, what are you really like when you're with just your friends? Like, I don't know what y'all talk about. I don't know. So it was just like an interesting. For me, I was like, what was I? I was trying to like remember what I was like when I was 12, and if I was going through this shit, if I would be reacting the same way as these girls do. But I guess like it's a comic book, right? So they're not going to be typical 12-year-olds. Anyway.
Yeah, but so anyway, Paper Girls is about these 4 12-year-old girls. They might be a little bit more precocious than normal. To Patrick's point, maybe they're a little bit more mature.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. A Cliff note I wanted to bring up, or CC. I don't know how we want to refer. I'll call him CC.
CC, of course, his name's CC.
One CC note I wanted to say. One thing I noticed about his art this time is I loved how he drew eyes in this.
Yeah,
because like when they're close up, he draws these little like reflections in the eyes that give it this kind of like extra innocent or like shocked look in certain areas. But then there's also scenes where it's zoomed out and background people just have dot eyes, and that's
I love the dot eyes. Effect. Yeah, I agree.
So I want to just call out CC's eye work in this run. It's really, I really thought it was cool.
When it's just the small dot eyes, I feel like he'd use those as well, like during comedic beats, and I thought it landed really well. It's kind of like an anime trope a little bit.
It is a little bit. It's his timing on the backing it out of realism into like that kind of he's a relatively cartoony artist, but you know, it all looks real in its cartoony way. But
another art note I noticed, KJ, who is my favorite character,
is the best.
She's a young Selena Kyle. She exactly is Selena Kyle from Lonely City. Like they look the same, right?
Extrapolate.
Expand upon this.
Their face is the same. Like if you youth.
Oh, you mean
Selena Kyle,
physically?
Yeah, that's what I mean. They visually they're the same face.
I mean, she's wearing leg warmers. She plays field hockey. Like she's a badass. You know,
You guys are objectively incorrect. KJ is the number 2 paper girl. Tiffany is number 1. She's the best paper girl. KJ is number 2. Close. They're neck and neck. When they find the spaceship in the basement and it's got that sheet over it, and I think it's KJ is like, it feels like it's made of skin, and Tiff just goes, "Yep, goodbye." And
just leaves just immediately. That's like, it's like this is kind of like a Goonies wrapped up into like,
it is
the
like
Goonies.
every
Like awesome kids ensemble movie you could possibly think of. It kind of hits those notes.
Because this came out at I think this started in 2016. That's about when Stranger Things was out too, right? I guess
is that when it started? I was wondering about that. I wonder if it was. I wondered which one came first. I assumed they were working on this book long before Stranger Things.
Oh, probably. But I just mean it was a real moment for 80s throwback kids movies. Yeah,
this immediately shifts from just being the 80s, though. Like, it's not just like wholly set in the 80s, but
definitely.
Also, Mac has the best bike, by the way, of all the girls. Come on, I mean, her bike's the shit. That sick BMX bike. She's got the post in the front. Come on.
I'm also super glad this involves time travel because I'm not the biggest fan of the whole like let's redo Stand By Me and the Goonies.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So I was pretty happy when it immediately became clear that they're going to be time traveling and not just be in.
And it didn't like immediately circle back to like everything's fine. We're back in the 80s now. Let's figure out what the problem was. It just like kept going, you know. So you're just like, I have no idea, you know. Like this is crazy already.
But so just a general intro, I guess, for listeners who maybe haven't read it, but it's 4 paper girls get drawn up in a time traveling adventure. To kind of Patrick and Joe's earlier point about the kind of lack of clarity with the plot, we don't really have like a typical hero's journey where like the goal is laid out of like what exactly they're just kind of like shit happens and now they're in different times and they're trying to get back.
Yeah. But they're trying to get back and or stay ahead of the next thing that's an immediate problem.
But to both your point, like we definitely don't have sort of a clean narrative of like, oh, they need to get MacGuffin X to achieve Y. And that's what's, you know. It's very much a sort of like, oh, shit's hit the fan, and now we're in another time. What do we do? That's kind of
which I liked
narrative. Yeah,
it was just hard to get invested without like knowing where it's going. You know, like I'm invested in the characters, but as far as the plot goes, like Patrick was saying, if I found out it was another 100 issues, I'd be like, I'll get back to it at some point. But knowing there's a clear end that's in sight, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll tear through that. You know, kind of thing.
And there's
so it's very different.
There's zero exposition. Like there's no, you know, if this were a movie, there's no like 20 minutes of what their life is like before. This just begins the action.
It's either silence or there's dialogue. You know, like there's nothing going on otherwise.
It was also hard because you were introduced to 4 protagonists and then all this crazy shit happens. And then those 4 protagonists get separated and they're in different groups meeting different people. And it's like you're trying to get to know the 4 main characters at the same time. I was really enjoying, I think it's because they did a good job in the first 2 issues, I guess, of like establishing the camaraderie between these 4 girls. And then when they were all separated, I kind of missed them all being together as kind of a little group. And I kind of wish I had more of that before they all kind of went their separate ways. But
even to the point where like so the main, I call her main girl, but Erin, the one you first see, let's put it that way, and she's sort of the main-ish character, doesn't even really know the other 3 girls. Like the other 3 girls are friends, and like she barely has time to kind of like bond with them and, you know, get to know each other before they're like before they're already split apart, sort of thing. So you're just like, oh wait, she barely even knows this other girl, and she's willing to, you know, go out on quite a few limbs to find and or save her or whatever, you know. But that was an interesting.
Well, speaking of Erin, her introduction, I loved just the beginning dream sequence where we get a Saga Prince Robot like Angel.
Yeah.
And then she has to answer a trivia quiz from a demon. And she goes, oh, fuck you, I'm not doing that. You know, the demon is like, if you want your sister to live, you have to answer this like riddle. And it's just like a random trivia note. But right away, we get another thing that is, I've only read 3 trades, so I'm not sure how it's all going to get kind of put
Yeah,
in
but you
place.
have a tiny bit more insight than us.
Yeah,
you know?
but the Apple, and I mean Apple, the company is
Yeah.
very centrally involved in this comic.
Yeah.
But the imagery right from the first page, we get the sort of Adam and Eve apple imagery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So right from the jump, the imagery is there. And
I love the
I don't know how
random
it's going to
Apple
get.
stuff, by the way.
I don't know how it'll all get resolved, but yeah, the company itself is centrally involved.
Which is like
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
I do remember that
is
was.
great.
I loved that when I first read this and being like, oh shit, like Apple is like the evil corporation from the future that is. I mean, obviously, I don't know how it's going to turn out. Maybe, right? But
you
like,
don't know they're evil or not. But Apple products from the future are involved. In time
are
travel.
very relevant. It's funny to me, and just on the surface level of just like we're all so obsessed with our phones, and like most content tries to stay away from like, you know, it's either in your face and it's like very much part of a show or a book you're reading or something like that, or it's just like not. They don't even. It's like their phones don't exist or something, and they're always just talking to each other, bumping into each other in street corners and shit, and shows and stuff. So like, it's kind of funny just to see. Like, I don't know, just this little square box and it has the logo on it that we all immediately recognize. And it's in 1988. So she's like, I think this is the same thing that's on my computer at my dad's house or at the school or whatever she says. Like, because there's like one computer in the town kind of thing.
right.
But like, just the idea of like that funny bit of like, we all know what that is, even though we don't know what the device is. We're like, oh, it's like a future iPhone or something, you know, kind of thing. But like her just going like, what is this? Is pretty priceless. Anyway.
Well, they call it a fruit. They don't even say apple. Like most of the girls call it like a fruit. What do they say? Fruit technology or something?
I think that's probably just
fruit device.
Well, because maybe for copyright reasons they can't.
Yeah.
I was gonna say. I mean,
Apple.
It's kind of risky taking on like painting
Also,
Apple in a bad light is
Well, again, we don't
know if it's bad. All we know is that in the future, Apple products.
All we know is that Volume 2 ends on a giant hill with a Satan demon with an apple on top.
I just wanted to harken back.
Drawer in the beginning has stacks of cash in it. She's raking in some money for this paper girl job. Aaron's drawer has like stacks of money in it.
Paper route is good money, man.
Why did I think this was her first like morning doing? I guess it was just the first time she met the other paper girls.
I think. Well, so normally they're not together. So so it's Halloween morning, or it's the 1st. It's November 1st. But so apparently it's well known to the other paper girls. I think this is her first Halloween is the key.
Right.
It's not her first night. Older kids are still out and fucking around on Halloween night, you know, even at like 4 a.m. kind of thing.
They call it Hell Night. It's called Hell Night. Yeah. That's what they call it. Yeah.
So she's by herself initially. And then that's when she meets up with the other three because they're like, oh, yeah, we stick together on this morning. You know, like we're always like make sure we're riding together. All right. So the 4 paper girls, we got Tiff, we got Cage, we got Mac, and we got Aaron.
Yeah.
Mac
rank them. What's your rank? Do your rank. Joe, go. Rank them down. 1 to 4.
Cage, Tiff, Aaron, Mac. Obvious. Right? Patrick's off.
Joe, I agree totally with Joe. That's my ranking. Yeah.
That's the rank. That's the rank right there.
The correct ranking is it goes Tiff, KJ, Aaron.
Okay.
Mac.
All right.
When I found out Mac was gonna die from leukemia, I was like, "Oh shit!"
And you're like, "Nice."
So no.
I mean, oh no. I hope you don't die. Oh, you sad? Are you sad?
If it was that
Tiff,
I mean, aside from throw my iPad across the room.
Aside from the joke, and we hate Mac. I thought that reveal was done really. I mean, imagine how devastating that would be if you're a 12-year-old girl and you find out, oh shit! Like I die of cancer within.
Oh yeah, so I guess we should say what the fuck we're talking about. They jump forward in time. They find some weird. It's actually on screen right now if you're watching on YouTube. They find some weird machine in the basement and it flashes, and they're not in their time. So they go back out on the street and everything's different. Long story short, they leave that time, get split up along the way. So that's when Cage gets separated, and then Mac and Tiff go off on a little side adventure to find their future selves to see if they can figure out what's going on, and Mac finds out she's going to die of cancer because the person that lives in her house is like, sorry, kid. The family that used to live here, we bought this house in 1992, and it was right after their daughter died, of leukemia, I think, or something, and she's like, oh, shit, I'm going to die. And meanwhile, as a reader, me and Patrick were like, oh, it's too bad.
But here's what I'll say about that moment, though, is because that is kind of when her character shifts a little bit and she becomes more likable. And I thought it was interesting how she puts it together, because Tiffany's trying to assuage her fears, saying like, we can change the past. And
you don't know. It's good. It doesn't mean anything or whatever. And she's like, I'm going to fucking die. Who cares? And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, prior to that, they run into 3 teenagers from the future. One of them dies. And one of those teenagers tells them that like your future is set, like your fate is set. You can't change it no matter what.
Yes.
So Mac.
Well, you can change all kinds of stuff. It's when you die never changes.
But so then Mac kind of has, so she puts that all together. And so in the rest of the volume 2, like when they come up against threats, like Mac's like, well, I know for a fact this is not how I die. So I'm kind of invincible right now. And I'm just going to go like.
This is all based on the hazy memory of an old man that lives in her house that bought the house back in 1992.
Yep.
And I'm just like, you're banking a lot on the fact that his information is accurate, but okay.
Yeah. Because what if her family sold the house in 1990 to another family that had a daughter that died from leukemia?
Yeah, but I think it hits on a, philosophically, you got to live like you were dying, man. Every moment counts. That's the way to live. Tim McGraw, man. Tim McGraw said it best. That's it.
Live like
I did want to bring up, so Mac, ironic, because Mac is introduced as kind of the tough girl. She smokes.
Yeah, she's the tough one. Yeah.
She's got like a cool, she's the tough one. But she's
from Terminator 2. Of course she's tough.
She's gender swapped John Connor from Terminator 2. Yeah. But I wanted to bring up, though, she has some of the more emotionally revealing moments of the girls in these.
Yeah.
Earlier in volume 1, when they go back to Mac's house and her mom is there, her mom is convinced like it's basically the rapture or whatever, and like the world is ending. And so she takes a gun out to shoot herself. And up until that point, Mac's been referring to her by her first name because she's her stepmom. So she called her like Debbie or whatever.
Yeah.
And the mom even makes a comment like, I'm your stepmom, call me mom, kind of thing. And when Debbie is about to shoot herself, Max screams out, Mom, I love you, Mom.
Yeah.
She ironically has a lot of the more emotionally revealing moments of the 4 girls.
So her presumed death, and then the fact that, and we never get to see Tiff. So they went to Mac's house first. So we never see Tiff in the future, or as of volume 2. We never see Tiff's older self. So we don't know what her deal is. But we find out she's going to die. We see her kind of messed up family. She has that run-in with the cop on November 1st before the time travel stuff happens, where he's like, what the fuck are you doing? She's like, delivering papers, dickhead. And he's like, yeah, your fucking whole family sucks or whatever. I mean, like, he basically implies that, like, either her dad and maybe her siblings, if she has any, are in and out of jail kind of thing. Or like,
yeah, she's from a family like the Guthries and X-Men. Just
trash.
Country trash.
Country trash.
Just like Cannonball and all of those Guthries. Just get them out. Get them out.
No, yeah, that when she calls the stepmom mom, that did kind of punch you in the gut big time. I think that's why it's like I struggle with Mac, because I'm like, I have to remind myself that she's 12 years old. I'm like, I hated her so much in the first issue, but like she's 12 fucking years old. And she's obviously, both of her parents are alcoholics. They're in AA, and clearly they're not, sticking to the program because the stepmom is wasted when she gets home.
Well, it's also the rapture. Maybe she wasn't drinking until.
I couldn't figure that out too. Yeah, I was like, but it's kind of implied that she's from a broken home, so I'm assuming they drink. But I couldn't tell if the mom was sober.
We never really. And Al, maybe you can answer this because you've read at least one volume ahead of us.
Yeah, she's a lesbian, Joe. Is that what you're going to ask? Yeah, Max definitely.
Yeah, of course. No. So when the Flash happens, and they find themselves in the weird future, there's other people there. Like there's a kid that's clearly has a bag trick-or-treating and he's got a wolf head on, but he's like frozen in the street and not moving, and it's weird. And then like they find her mom, like they go to her house and they find her mom and everything, but like her mom is like, I was sitting right there and then everyone was gone and blah, blah, blah. And I'm only left. But really, obviously she was transported to the future as well. So like, did it just Is there any explanation of why rando people were sent to the future yet?
It's not explained, but I don't think they were set to the future. I think they were reset to moving time. I think what the purple sky is, I think, is like a time bubble which is stuck outside of time.
So like random people are kind of
left behind, and they're being like reset. Like the dudes with the magic wands just kind of reset people to like moving time.
Oh, gotcha.
I did like how
that isn't explained yet, but I think that's what's going on.
That seems like that, but even that explanation makes a little bit more sense now. You know, like kind of to what's going on. Anyway, go on.
But within the first 3 volumes, they don't explicitly say that. That's assumptions.
But I mean that explanation makes tracks though with what's going on. So there's 3 random dudes that are wrapped up, and we find out they're teenagers from another time. And they steal like a walkie-talkie off of them, and that's what starts the whole thing. Like, so they track these dudes back to like some random house that's like under construction, and there's a weird device in the basement, and that's what kind of starts off the end of this.
When they find the weird device, just to go back to this, it's got a black sheet over it, and Tiff says, "What the heck is that?" And KJ says, "Ew, it feels like skin." And that's when Tiff says, "Yep, goodbye." Max says, "Tiffany, wait." And then Tiff says, "Nuh-uh, flesh sheet? That's some Texas Chainsaw bullshit." I was obsessed. And then once they pull the sheet off, it's the spaceship. And KJ's like, "It looks like some kind of modern art." And Tiff goes, "Yeah, it's terrible." I was obsessed with her. I don't know how I love KJ as well, but like, Tiff was just the fucking best.
Also, Erin pulls it off and she's like, "No, it's not skin or cloth. It's like a parachute or something, but it's like attached to it." And she pulls it off, and Tiff's first reaction, when she's like halfway up the stairs, she looks at the thing. She's like, Jesus. Fuck this.
Well, I think to answer your question, Pat, I think I went for KJ because, like I mentioned, she is a young Selena Kyle from Lonely City. So I think I just jumped on
don't get me wrong. I think if KJ was in volume 2, she probably would have been my number 1. But like, Tiff has had so many great lines.
In volume 3, and I don't care if you guys care about mild spoilers.
No, it's fine. No.
They're fighting these like aggressive cavemen people, and KJ just murders one. Straight up murders him.
Can't wait.
She takes his own weapon and just bashes him to death. And I was just like, "KJ, you go, girl. That's how you do it." She's awesome. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Oh, and another thing, we also get introduced to who I'm assuming is the main antagonist of the series.
Oh, the old man?
An old man with a Public Enemy t-shirt, who is kind of like an Immortus, the role of like he seems like he's in charge of time.
I did love his telephone.
Yeah, he has an apple shape.
Look like?
It's an apple with an eyeball in it.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
As it rings, it opens up. Yeah.
But so and he seems to be like in charge of this time police army, and I'm assuming he's going to be the main antagonist, but he hasn't been in a ton of the first 3 volumes. But we do get to meet him and his pterodactyl riding enforcers, as well as these little many-eyed creatures. They're kind of like beholders.
What are they called? They're called
Editrix.
Editrix. I enjoyed the scene when the Editrix grabs Tiffany, and it basically makes you relive your life. But I'm assuming I was reading it on the iPad. Yeah. So Tiffany like relives her life, and she's like, it's basically her playing the same exact video game.
She said, "My life flashed before my eyes, but all it was me being obsessed with this one video game."
Yeah, I mean, I felt attacked because I do play a ton of video games, and I felt attacked. Like, this is a waste.
And then she goes, "I can't believe I cared that much about that one thing," or something like that. You know, kind of thing.
Well, she's like, "I didn't even." It was like it's not Pong. What is that game called? Where you're bouncing the ball off of the moving disc and you're breaking. Anyways, it was like a very basic video game.
But it's an Atari game. But I don't remember.
Yeah.
Isn't it Pong?
No,
Pong
you're
is
trying to like break bricks.
Pong is
You're trying to break bricks with the ball.
So one big plot point is that Aaron gets shot, which that's good timing.
Also,
you just put that on the screen.
Patrick, one quick thing I wanted to make. So that's not her whole life. That's just her life until now. It's not her entire life.
Well, and I was also wondering what those things actually do, because it doesn't show her whole life. Obviously, she wasn't playing that game the entire time she's been living. But
time passes though.
Well,
but it's
so
like it seems like
it was like
she's
seasons
only
were passing.
Okay, so here's the thing. This one, which is spherical and green colored, that Tiff touches, shows her past. In volume 3, KJ touches a pyramid yellow one.
Oh, there's different
that
ones?
shows her future.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
So,
I can't wait to read more. Oh, I'm excited for Paper Girls, boys.
I liked how that caused Tiff to have like a crisis of like it was like an existential moment for this.
Yeah, so kind of
like,
similar to Mac finding out she's gonna die. Like Tiff had this, like, holy fuck, I feel like I've wasted my life.
Okay,
you know,
well, I think
and maybe it was like a year of her life or whatever on this game to try to get to level 35 or whatever. And the best part about this is, by the way, she's playing this game. It shows time passing. It shows her parents standing in front of the TV and she's like looking around trying to get to the TV. You know, she's just obsessed with this game. It shows her creeping up slowly through the levels, like 21, 27, you know, that kind of thing. And it shows level 35 and her face is like pure joy because she's like, I'm going to beat level 35. Yeah. I'm finally going to do it. I'm going to get into this game. And then basically the next screen is like her face is just dead. And it just says level 1 because that's all that happened to the game.
Yeah.
When at the end, it just reset to the beginning. And she's like, and then like after she gets out of it, she's like, I think I wasted my life, you know, kind of thing. And I love that. That was
that was back in the day when you didn't have, you know, Atari and this original Nintendo.
Yeah, you couldn't start. You'd have to start from 1 to 30. She had to play it through every time, probably.
Yeah,
you know, so like it's not like she was saving the game.
Well, I also like how afterwards, like through multiple pages, as other stuff is going on, she's still just talking to herself about it. Like she says, why didn't I just stop when I was stuck at level 28?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I was stuck at level 28 for 2 months. I didn't stop.
Like, why did I spend months doing that?
Those panels are fantastic, though. I mean, I've got one of the screens.
Yeah.
But
well, reading it in like smart view or focused view on the iPad, where you're just looking at one panel at a time, you really felt like
it really does. Yeah.
God,
because those are like double page spreads of like little square panels.
Wait a minute, Patrick, you were reading that on an Apple product?
Yeah, we're fully in.
Be careful. Be careful.
It's okay because when my younger self time travels and hands me an Apple device, I'll be able to log in.
Yeah.
What if Tim Cook just popped his head up behind me right now? That's right, Alessandro.
Alessandro, you are correct. I own Patrick's lifeblood.
That's what Tim Cook does with his time. He haunts individual Apple users.
Also, the machine that the future teenagers use when he sticks his hand to it, that's like a plumbus from Rick and Morty.
Yeah, it was a plumbus.
I don't remember. What is a plumbus? I don't remember that reference.
It was during the interdimensional cable episode where it's like a documentary on how to make a plumbus, and it was like, I don't know, like everyone goes nuts. I don't know.
Listen, it's just about two brothers in a van. You don't want to hear about it here, but they have a strong bond.
All right, let's talk about Volume 2 some more. Let's get into Volume 2.
Whoa, let's talk about
Aaron 2016.
Well, so
having a Ronald Reagan dream. I thought it was creepy, and I hated
the
it.
Ronald Reagan dream was great. I did like the Ronald Reagan.
What the fuck? Because it was also like heavy Charlie Brown imagery, Yeah,
the Great Pumpkin Patch. Yeah, there's Charlie Brown tree and they're skating on ice, and then the next scene is like pumpkin patch scene, like the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, and then she literally has the squiggly line.
Yes,
kind of round her face, squiggly line mouth. Sorry, kind of round her face, like a Charlie Brown character.
Reagan like pulls his coat up. He's like, I got shot too. It's not good. Doesn't mean you're gonna die.
She's like, what about Wendy? He's like, your pen pal? That's just sad, Aaron. Now come on, you have an important job to do.
That part was incredible. I love that. Like, your pen pal, that's not a real friend. That was hilarious.
He said, remember your papers, and he holds out an apple that's shot through it, which is also extra weird.
A black apple.
A black apple that has a bullet hole in it. Yeah, with blood coming out.
Also,
I did like how Aaron,
the Reagan imagery that's just like lasers from space against Russian warheads. It's all very
Star
Reagan.
Wars. That's all Reagan.
Yeah.
That's all
It's
Reagan.
all very Reagan.
Yeah, space lasers shooting down missiles. That's Reagan, man. You know, it's protecting her Charlie Brown ice ring.
Reagan is giving Norman Osborn vibes to me in this.
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you think
it's
Reagan
also very Dark Knight Returns reminiscent?
Reagan is Dark Knight Returns? What?
Yeah, there's a specific. Yeah, Reagan's in Dark Knight Returns, talking to Clark, sends him after.
For some reason, I thought you just meant the Dark Knight, the movie. You mean the Dark Knight Returns? The comic, right?
But the winking panel is like that's. I mean, I know that's a Reagan thing to do, so it's not like that's a personification of that man, but gave me Dark Knight vibes.
One of my favorite pages, I thought it was after Aaron got shot, but she's like having a flashback to being a kid, and her dad is crying in the living room, and she's like,
and his face melts,
and his face is melting, and he looks like one of the aliens from They Live.
Yeah, no, I love that when she goes, I didn't know grown-ups got scared too, and he just says, we're terrified. Like,
yeah, I was like,
that. That's incredible.
That hit.
Yeah, Aaron finds her dad and says, why are you crying? Why are you sad? And he says, I'm more afraid than sad. And Aaron says, I didn't know grown-ups got scared too. And he just says, we're terrified, as his face melts off. That's incredible.
And he's watching a news that shows that John Lennon had just been assassinated. Yeah, that panel, I was like, that. I don't know how that pertains to the story, but that really hit me in the soul right there.
Well, it's deep shit because adults are terrified. Yeah, we deal with real anxieties.
I think that might be like a combination of an actual memory she had mixed with maybe she felt. Because, classic 80s, I guarantee her father didn't actually say those words to her, but probably maybe she got that impression.
His face did
from him.
Though. That's a real memory. It was a pretty.
But doesn't
it's funny you guys said They Live, because I thought immediately Indiana Jones and Raiders and like the melting, the melting bodies.
I think it's because he has his glasses are still on, so it maybe.
Well, that's what it was. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Like, doesn't the one dude who gets his hand melted?
In Indiana Jones?
In Indiana Jones, he gets the impression of the thing in his hand,
so
kind of Kevin McAllister style. And then
don't lose your minds. But I've actually never seen an Indiana Jones movie before.
I couldn't care less about anything on this point.
Why would I lose my mind?
It's fine.
I don't know, because I feel like a lot of people would be like, "What the fuck? You've never seen?"
Well, first of all, it's totally fine to not have seen an Indiana Jones movie. I feel like
I also have zero desire to ever see an Indiana Jones.
That's also fine.
That's also fine.
Yeah, I mean, I can't come up with a specific example, but it's a very 80s like practical effects horror movie. Whatever.
That's what it is. It feels like an 80s practical effect horror movie.
It's just very. I can't come up with a specific example, but I feel like it's 50 movies from the 80s where.
Yeah.
There's a scene like that or those kinds of effects. But I just love that line of like, adults are terrified.
Yeah.
So Aaron being healed in the spaceship, and it for whatever reason, the other two teenagers in the future get fused with the machine, and
that part I didn't get.
That's the thing I was going to say this earlier. I liked that point they make about time travel, because when she's talking to the two teenagers from the future, they're like, time and space are kind of connected, and the Earth isn't a stationary object. It is moving through the universe,
through space.
That's not
like
true.
A fucking torpedo.
That's not true.
It is.
It's a flat. It's a flat spinning disc.
I hate you so much. I thought you were being serious.
We know that the Earth is a flat spinning disc. It doesn't move. The Earth. I mean, the sun goes around.
Patrick, we all know there's an ice wall, and it's a flat disc.
Ice wall. No, the two.
There's people that have gone out in boats and seen the ice wall, Patty. I will fight you on this.
So I think that's what happened. Back to my point. I think that's what happened is that the two other teenagers, they time travel and they're off by like feet, and they get fused into the side of.
Yeah, because they go. So they talk again. That reference that you said way earlier about there's randomly words that don't make sense yet, like curfew and stuff. Like we don't know what that. Like we don't know what it means to break curfew, for instance. But I think they say something like we have to break curfew when they take her up. I'm not sure, but maybe I could be mistaken.
Wait,
no, they do say that.
They're definitely having some sort of like outside problem going on aside from being in the spaceship.
Wait, time out. Patrick, why? So explain again why they got fused. Like, why were they in the wrong place?
Well, because they said he's like time travel. So if you were to go into the future or the past, the Earth is not there yet. So you are just going to time travel. You're going to be in the same spot, but you're just going to end up in like.
If all you did was time travel just through time and not space, you wouldn't be on the Earth anymore. You'd be floating in space.
You'd be at.
But if you go through time and space, you'd stay on the Earth.
No, I get that point, but they've been traveling back and forth before. Like, why this time did they?
I think so. Again, there was outside. Well, let me see what it is. Hold on.
That's what I think. I'm making assumptions here, but I think Joe's right. They do say something about we're going to have to break curfew, so we don't know what that means yet. But my assumption
is this is what he says. There's like an alarm, and there's like literally laser beams and people shooting at them, and the one that's more disfigured says it's the old timers. They're trying to ground us, and then the one that's like blonde and mildly still normal looking says, "Holy shit, we're gonna have to break curfew." And then he says, messing with a tributary, that is suicide. And then the other guy goes, so is staying here. Like, basically, we have to do something crazy dangerous. But if we don't do it, like, we're all going to die anyway. Because, like, we're just going to get shot by the bad guys kind of thing. And then it's just, like, a jumbly image. And basically, they arrive back. The basement, they haven't left the basement.
Right, because they go... Yeah.
But when it gets back to them, they're like fused to the wall, and Aaron, who was like strapped in, is like just in a chair, kind of thing. I think it might just have to do with the fact that they weren't strapped in properly too. Just like the ship shifted or whatever, and like they became fused with it.
Okay, so they were just kind of like rerouting on the fly.
Yeah, and like Aaron had her seatbelt on, basically, kind of thing. Yeah. Real quick, before we do volume 2, like real quick, let's wrap. What happens? Let's real quick. What's at the end of volume 1? It's they find Aaron again, and then they travel through time. Cage gets split, and they find old Aaron. That's kind of it, right?
In 2016, which 2016 was when this came out, and is now 7 fucking years ago.
Well, that was what I was going to say, is because they make a reference they make a reference in volume 2 about vines, and I was like, oh, that's hilarious because vines vines haven't existed for like
don't exist
so many years. But yeah, KJ gets separated from them, so we're just down to Tiff, Mac, and Aaron. My big note of volume 2 was the dynamic between older Aaron and younger Aaron.
I loved that. I thought that was amazing. Yeah, loved it.
Because clearly Aaron is like talented and gifted student, like bright future. The 40-year-old
and then
Aaron
she's like,
seems
I'm
to
still
be
living in our same house. I haven't moved. I still work at the paper. I haven't moved. Changed my job in 25 years.
No, but I could have told you that because like young Aaron's dreams are pretty indicative of someone who's going to be crippled by anxiety and self-sabotage as an adult.
Well,
so I could have told you that.
Also, old Aaron actually kind of says that. I mean, and she like takes a pill and she's like, what's that for? She's like, I have a prescription. It's for anxiety. And then young Aaron says something, and she's like, "There it is." There's the undiagnosed anxiety right there.
But it was a really good, like, props to Brian K. Vaughan with this beat, because in the first issue of volume 2, Aaron's like, we still live in our hometown. We're still working at the same place. And older Aaron seems embarrassed and like ashamed. And you can kind of tell that she's not happy where she's at.
She's like, sorry, I didn't, do more with our life, kind of thing.
Yeah. But then later on, young Aaron and older Aaron are by themselves at the mall, and young Aaron is like, I think your life is great. You're not married. You're not tied down with kids. You can travel wherever you want to go. You can
do all this stuff. And then and old Aaron just hugs her.
And it's
touching.
It's fucking touching. Yeah, it is.
It has to be like such a nice compliment for your 12-year-old self to be like, oh shit, my future is kind of great. And like, as your 40-year-old self, you're always comparing your current life to what it could have been, the decisions you could have made, where you could have been. And to have your 12-year-old self being like, you're kind of crushing it. I love what you're doing it was a very heartwarming moment.
So I mean, that's true. It was very heartwarming. Having said that, adult Aaron is a loser. She's overweight. She's overweight, probably making $40K a year for a local newspaper.
She's a loser. No, she's fine. She's not overweight.
She is not fine. Are you kidding me?
She's an older woman.
Oh my god. Also, her shoes, she shouldn't be wearing flats with that frame. Not adult.
You want her in heels? What?
I think she should be wearing sneakers. I think she should be wearing sneakers, not these little. I'm not a fan.
Oh man,
adult Aaron.
Let me ask you guys a question. 12-year-old you shows up in the middle of the road in the middle of the night while you're driving by yourself with two children that you vaguely remember, but not really remember knowing or hanging out with. Do you trust that scenario?
I don't know. I mean,
so clearly, whatever. So I mean, we come to figure out that like old Aaron doesn't remember whatever's happening. So she doesn't even remember being friends with the other three girls. And clearly, young Aaron is already on her way to becoming like really good friends with them. So like, whatever happens, it's probably going to be like, to go back to our original time, we have to now forget everything we just went through or something for time to be normal or something by the end of this. Who knows? I don't, maybe not, but that's kind of the inclination you get from that. But like, so she doesn't even remember the other girls almost at all. Like she kind of remembers like, oh yeah, we knew each other. I mean, like they were there, but like we didn't like keep in touch or anything. Like I wasn't like friends with them kind of thing. Meaning like this whole adventure kind of got wiped from her memory and she never even knew what the scar was about kind of thing. So would you trust? I mean, you know, it's you, right? Like, and they even have to compare scars. I don't think I'd have to do that. Like you could see, I'd see 12-year-old me and know it was me, right?
I wouldn't. I would honestly, I'd assume that like I broke down into like a schizophrenic multiple personality break or something. I wouldn't.
I will say,
I
like,
don't think I'd assume this is reality.
Older Aaron does handle the situation really well, and even with her ability to be like, well, I don't remember where I got the scar, which means someone erase my memory, which means we can't trust like literally anyone. We can't call the police. We can't call because they're probably all in on it. She handled it pretty well. I don't know how I would.
I do like how conspiratorial she is right away. Like she's immediately like, we can't call the police. We don't know who's in on it. We don't know who's controlling us. And the kids from the 80s are like, what do you mean? The police are fine, right? I know.
I don't know how I would react to see I don't even know what I looked like when I was 12. 1997, I guess that would be. What grade is that? I don't know.
Honestly, if that was me, I'd probably just swerve out of the way and keep driving without noticing who these fucking street rats are. I wouldn't even pay attention to who these kids are. Like, I would just leave. You would stop again. I just honk at him and be like, "Get out of the fucking way," and drive home. I'm busy.
And you're like, "Was that me? Well, who was that kid?" You get on, like, wait a minute.
As you drive by, you kind of make eye contact with yourself.
Well, that is a question. If you saw a kid who vaguely looked like you when you were, would you
vaguely,
assume, like,
it is you. It's you.
It's night. It's a rainy night. It's not. You're not going to have the clarity to think like, oh, that's exactly me at 12 years old. You would just say like, oh, that kind of looks like.
I feel like the situation they're in, like they're like in, like she stops the car and gets out, like, you know.
Well, first of all, she didn't stop a car. That's a fucking smart go-kart. That's no car. Also, why she's
one of the smart cars, which by the way was very popular around 2016.
I'm sorry, like that adult Aaron is not in a good place. I'm sorry, despite what young Aaron thinks.
So 3 12-year-olds are in the street, and you do stop, and you get out, and you're like, "Get out of the fucking road!" But then you see it's you. Do you trust the city?
I don't get out. Why are you getting out of the car? You honk at them from with it. It's dangerous. Like, why are you leaving your car?
3 12-year-olds is dangerous. Al?
You don't know if it's bait for like someone to mug you or gang.
I'm on board with. I think I would have hesitated quite a bit longer than adult Aaron did if I saw me and like 12-year-old Alessandro and 12-year-old like Dylan Metcher. I'd be like, this doesn't add up.
So that's different though, because you still know Alessandro. The key is that the 2 kids that you're with, you don't really remember. You vaguely remember from childhood.
That would make me even more
like, well, I don't know. Wait a minute. Like if I saw young me with like 2 of my best friends from that age, I'd be like, Okay, well, this is just.
Well, all right, so I'm gonna back this up because I'm reading it now, and the girls actively put their hands up and like speak to her
and like
to get it.
ask
So
for help.
in that case,
Yeah.
I would get out. In that case,
Yeah,
I
that's
would
what I'm
get
saying. They ask for help. Yeah.
out. So I'm gonna backtrack. I would get out.
Yeah. Interesting. It's an interesting scenario. That's all I'm saying. So I mean, like she comes to trust them
quickly,
but I mean within reason. I think.
The
but
other
like
thing is this. I don't know if you all remember
the initial trust, the fact that she piles them into the car and goes, "Let's figure this out." That, after they get back to the house and they have time to talk. Yeah, maybe I'd start to like. I feel like my conversation would be in that roadway for like an hour and a half.
100%.
Okay, I guess get in the car.
I would. I want to make. I'm
going to tie you up because I don't trust you. Kind of thing. Like I don't know. I'll be like, I'm going to try up the 3 12-year-olds, put them in my trunk because I don't trust this situation at all.
Get in the trunk.
Okay, but a science side note. I don't know if you remember the movie Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I do, yeah.
But in that movie, if you touch another version of yourself, you meld together and explode because the same matter can't take up the same space, according to Time Cop. Oh. That logic doesn't hold true in Paper Girls.
Which also, because that logic is stupid.
No,
they're not occupying the same space.
Science.
If I high five myself, I'm not occupying the same space. We're just next to each other.
If you high fived yourself from the future with a mohawk, like in Time Cop,
that's true. Yeah, if I did have a mohawk and I was from the future,
it would be the same matter.
That'd be really bad
because you can only transfer energy. You can't create new matter in the universe, right? Isn't that a law of Time Cop physics? Yeah.
Time Cop.
So I think Time Cop is right, and this Paper Girls is wrong. This whole comic is based on
my favorite part of Time Cop is when the guy robs the wagon in the Old West with like machine guns. I was like, that's brilliant. This is brilliant.
I've never seen Time Cop before.
God damn it.
Oh, it's a classic, dude. Classic. I think I'm not making this up. I think it is Jean-Claude Van Damme's highest grossing movie.
It might, I mean,
as the lead role.
Higher than Street Fighter?
Oh yeah, Street Fighter bombed.
That bombed. With Raul Julia?
Yeah. Well, I take that back. Universal Soldier might be the highest. It's either that or Time Cop, but one of those two is his highest grossing film.
Well, now I need to know the answer. Google it.
A little bit of trivia about me. Street Fighter, the movie, the soundtrack, first CD I ever bought.
With Jean-Claude Van Damme?
What was even on the soundtrack?
I don't know. I don't remember. I just thought I was so obsessed. I was so obsessed with Street Fighter 2
all right,
back then.
Genuinely
Street
good
Fighter
soundtrack.
2, the manga or the anime was great.
Okay, but
the anime was
Mortal Kombat generally good.
That soundtrack, yes.
That soundtrack slapped.
Fantastic.
Street Fighter 2 Alpha, the anime series, was also good.
I just love how in the video game, Guile's whole point is America, and they cast a Belgian man as that character. Yeah, that's just my favorite.
It's a Belgian man with an American, United States of America flag tattoo.
They still gave him that tattoo, even though he is a Belgian man.
America's a melting pot, Apple. You can be from anywhere.
You sure can.
Call yourself American. Back when America was a melting pot, and everyone accepted that, and we were all from different places before, we got so scared.
I don't know. That doesn't sound like that doesn't sound like the America I remember that I want to go back to. But all right, back to Paper Girls. So 2016, they meet
the house. Old man hippie is chasing them down.
Yeah, we also meet another version of Aaron who's not old Aaron, but maybe just a little bit older.
Yeah, and that poor man in the raincoat, he was just like, "Hey, you need help, kid?" And then he like gets ripped apart, and she's like, "Oh, my bad."
Well,
like, what the fuck?
She's a clone, right? She's a clone of Aaron.
Yeah, she's a clone of Aaron. Other Aaron.
She's a clone from the future that Apple made, I think.
Oh, by the way, this comic introduces a second language, which is obviously decipherable if you took the time to do it. The language that the future kids talk and, other Aaron speaks. I'm curious, because I'm lazy and did not try to decipher it, but it's clearly decipherable if you really want to figure it out. It's like I'm sure, I feel like it's a verbatim A to A kind of.
It looks like Korean or something.
No, it's definitely like an A to A, like, symbol you can you can change them out for A, B, C, and figure it out.
Oh, come on. Ain't none of us a code girl or a cryptographer.
I'm just saying it's
whatever.
possible and you could do it. And I'm curious to see what all of the dialogue is without the, you know, the encryption, so to speak. Because there's so much dialogue that's untranslated. And I'm like, I would love to know what that chick said. Other Aaron gets like pushed through a portal and she's like, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. And like, who knows what she said there? I'm like, I really wish I kind of want to. I mean, I know the internet's done it for me, so I could probably just like look it up. But like, it would be a fun read to actually have the translations readily available and see what they're saying in those moments. You know?
Okay, but so evil or clone Aaron brings whatever they're called. Like, are they called like water bears or whatever, or sea monkeys, whatever those things are?
Oh yeah, those are the things that live on like
they're like microscopic.
asteroids.
Yeah, but they're microscopic organisms.
Yeah, they're microscopic, but they're the ones that live at the bottom of the ocean at the sea vents or something like that.
No, I think they're just like in rivers.
Oh, yeah, they're like
water bears or whatever they're called. Tardigrades, is that what they are?
Yeah, something like
that's
that.
It.
But they're giant because apparently you find out that time travel also messes with dimensions,
with scale,
like with scale. So she brings back also like a tapeworm or whatever a maggot that's giant.
Yeah, it's
so
literally a maggot.
Giant.
Yeah. All right. So other Aaron arrives, and then in the meantime, mostly the paper girls are just at old Aaron's house trying to like figure out what they should do. And this is the point where they're like, okay, we're gonna go to this place. Like the Apple device, hilariously enough, is guiding them to the mall.
But they split up again. To Patrick's point, they
old and young Aaron go to the mall though, and then Tiff and Mac go to find their older selves.
Yeah,
like Aaron already has
all the time. I don't know.
Well, they already lost Cage.
But I didn't like how older Aaron was like, you guys stay here where it's safe, and we're going to go to the mall. It's like, what did you think these two 12-year-old girls were going to do by themselves?
Like hang out and
play video games.
It was funny when they saw her flat screen TV, though. I did like there was little bits of them being in 2016.
Oh, I did laugh at like, wow, how rich are you to afford something like this?
That was funny.
Tardigrades. They're called tardigrades.
Yeah.
Where are they? Where do they live?
They just live in like water and shit, like streams.
Yeah,
they're just kind of normal microscopic creatures. Yeah.
Yeah, they're tiny.
I thought there was more to that.
Adult Aaron gets the future iPhone from Aaron. For some reason, the future iPhone like allows adult
her current Apple account lets her log into this future device, basically.
Oh, is that what it is? Is that what it is?
Yeah, she still has an account like in the future, right. And then the device is like, "Would you like to pair?" And she's like, "Yes, I would." And she pairs the device.
Your Apple account
based on her Apple ID now. Like she has an iPhone basically, so like she's allowed to pair with like this new future device.
How the fuck have I read this 3 times and I missed that detail?
I don't know. It clearly says like login confirmed. Like what
Yeah. Would you like to pair? It's literally like Aaron. Would you like to pair with? And then she's like, yes, I would. Oh, I think she even says like, fuck yeah, like kind of thing. Like she's like, yes, bitch. Okay. Future Apple device, I'm in.
We also in this issue we get a ton of even though this isn't the 80s, we get even more like obligatory references to like Radio Shack and KB Toys. And
because the mall's closed down and it's like an old mall. Yeah, but also I love it. Speaking of 80s movies and the 80s vibe, the fact that they're just riding around on their bikes the whole time, love it. I just love it.
I know you guys haven't read this far, but my favorite scene of the comics so far is like the third trade is they're kind of back in time, like in caveman times, and then they go through time again. But the first issue of the fourth is they show up to an Applebee's that's burning because Y2K was real and giant robots are destroying the earth.
That's great.
I just love the image of like the first image you see is an Applebee's in flames.
Wait, when they're in the caveman times, is it like the world's ended and it's back to caveman times, or is it like
it's literally 11,000 BC.
Oh, so like the devil on the hill with like the apple symbol above it is from caveman times?
Someone drew that. Yeah, someone carved that out.
Oh, interesting. Well, I can't wait to read volume 3, but yeah. So the main conflict of Volume 2 is one, Aaron trying to trust old Aaron, but then they also get the message to not trust the other Aaron, which we see kind of who seems trustworthy on the surface, you know, kind of thing. So it's kind of a leap of faith to be like, fuck this, I'm not going to trust this one, even with the message. And then the message they receive is that the Apple device led them to find that message, basically. So within the mall, there was like Cage's hockey stick, and it had a message card on it that said, "Don't trust other Aaron." And in the moment, young Aaron's like, "Oh fuck, that means old Aaron, and she's right up there," you know, kind of thing. But you know, the reader understands it's probably the different one. I found that very tense.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, what's gonna happen? Is she gonna do something to old Aaron? She's innocent. But yeah, it was pretty crazy because young fake Aaron seems to be on their side. Like she helps Mac and Tiff get away from the maggot. Like she's using her little, like, you know, I don't know. She does a Wonder Woman arm cross thing and, like, you know, obliterates things.
We still don't quite know what her motive, because all we know is that
we would if we could read that language, Al.
Well, so she tried to hurt adult Aaron, and then I mean, it's just that's all we know. We don't know whether she's
so adult Aaron was like
evil.
Why the fuck are we following you, this kid? Blah blah blah. So like as this conversation kind of like plays out, old Aaron is kind of like, I don't think you guys should go through this portal. Like, I don't think this is a good idea. We don't know who this kid is, and blah blah blah. Like, why is she young? And like, she's not like you at all. And like all that. And basically, young clone Aaron is just like, fuck you, and just blasts her.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, adult Aaron is an annoying loser. So that, like, the clone,
also suspicious. So evil. Equally suspicious. Like, you don't know who to trust. What do you think about this weird? Well,
but we know.
I'm assuming Apple product airship blimp thing that they have.
That's not cool, an Apple
but
product.
I didn't really pay attention.
That's a steampunk airship. Well, I think that's just to show that the time police is just all sorts of time periods, like a steampunk airship, a pterodactyl, a medieval knight armor. I think it's just to show, you know, iconography of all sorts of different time periods, because they are the time police.
Honestly, because the opposite antagonists, like, we're talking in that future speak, and you only got little glimpses of like 1 or 2 pages of time with them, I like did not pay attention to what the fuck they were talking about. So I'm hoping they make sense at the end of this series about like what was going on, but I didn't really pay too close of attention to
Patty, I kind of agree with you.
It's like Avengers Forever's, where I think it's Avengers Forever thing, where they're just like protecting the timeline and trying to make sure that things don't get out of control.
Oh, it's Loki season 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much exactly what they are.
The way that alt Aaron or other Aaron, the way she uses her powers was a little bit reminiscent of Akira, the way she just obliterates people's bodies.
Oh, the way it spins out.
Yeah.
It also was reminiscent of
Akira's more of a crush. It's a crush.
The way she explodes that first man's body was very like telekinetic, like explosion. Just
and she kind of mentions like a field around her because she had just time traveled and it hadn't like synced up with the time yet. So she inadvertently kills that man. She didn't mean to, but like. She didn't seem
too upset about it.
No, not in the slightest.
But again, I don't know if that makes someone evil. You know, I don't. I think we're being harsh on her.
I don't know if she's evil per se. It just feels like her indifference to randomly killing a man doesn't speak to her, goodness per se.
Well, I mean, it's a jabroni from the past. You know what I mean? I don't.
Well, also, I mean, like, when you're talking about things like time travel, I mean, there's a very good chance, like, she'd be like, I'll fix that later. You know, like, to her, maybe it's nothing, and it's not bad or good. It's just I
don't think she wanted to fix it. Like, she didn't seem like she was
got that impression as well. But, I mean, if you're arguing that, like, maybe she's not evil, like, there's a good chance that she could just be like, oh, yeah, we can just go back and be like, hold that guy on the shoulder for 5 seconds, and he won't walk near me, and then problem solved.
The reason I think she's evil is because she specifically says she's one of the good guys. And
that's true. That is true. So that is a good point. No one who's good ever actually says I'm a good guy. So that's true.
That's true.
But she's also 12 as far as we know. She might be 100 years old. I don't know,
look, she's
but
18 somewhere. You know what I mean? It's 2028 somewhere. You know what I mean?
No, Alessandro.
God damn it, man.
Look, time is a fly. This is a time travel thing. There, you know.
God damn it, Al.
Time is a circle.
Sorry, can you guys hold on a second? I've got like weird feedback on my.
What is it?
I don't know if it's just my headphones, but it's kind of sounds like a song. I don't know if you hear kind of a. Does this pass?
The Bechdel test.
The Bechdel
The Bechdel test.
Does this pass the Bechdel test?
Bechdel test. Will Patrick ever sing with us? Probably not.
I don't know. I always feel like I mute myself when you do the song because I feel like it's like I don't know why. I automatically mute myself.
This one does pass.
Oh, 100%.
However,
It's a bunch of girls the whole time.
However, and I tried to do research because I really wanted to find controversy about this, but Reddit didn't help me out. You know, the whole creative team's dudes. Why are 4 dudes writing the story about these little girl? Shouldn't we cancel them for that?
Just because the industry is still sexist doesn't mean the creators have to fit within that.
But isn't that gender appropriation? Is that okay? Can we do that?
I think it's better than.
Are you trying to not make this pass the Bechdel test? Because it passes with flying colors.
It does pass the Bechdel test.
Could you imagine if 4 men wrote a comic book about 4 girl protagonists and it did not pass the Bechdel test? That would be
like every frame they're talking about some dude.
Yeah, they're talking the boys they like.
Yeah, but it does pass. Even though the whole creative team is dudes, it does pass the Bechdel test. They don't exclusively talk. First of all, there's plenty of scenes without a man in it, and then they don't just the boys.
I mean, really, to their credit, there's like barely any men in it at all.
I mean, there's the teenage boys that help them in the first volume, and they all die. And then there's the old man, really, and well, there's the one night dude that he also dies, gets blasted through the head by those teenage kids.
Yeah, but there's no like recurring mainline character who's a man.
Other than the old man with the t-shirts. No.
Well, he's the antagonist who's just like around every once in a while, but he's not. Yeah. No, so this passes. So good job, BKV and CC. This passes the Bechdel test.
Even old Erin. I mean, she's unmarried.
She's not a man,
and really only talks to her sister. Really,
yeah.
I mean, like,
yeah, but
even
again,
that's the kids there, you know.
Yeah, but that's sad and not something we should celebrate.
What's with the zapping people up in the tubes?
We don't know. I don't know
what tubes.
When they zap
the old man hippie dude, rock star guy has like jars filled with people.
Oh yeah, but that's not explained yet. I don't think we know what that.
Okay, so we don't know yet.
Yeah. Well, up until the first 3 volumes, yeah. Do
you think he's pulling people out of time to like make into his little like warrior people?
Could be.
Maybe.
Could be.
Honestly, like I did not think about the villains at all. I was like, I don't understand what they're saying, and I'm just gonna keep.
I took a similar. Yeah, I kind of.
At least he spoke normally. You know, yeah. So his responses to his knights allowed you to kind of decipher what they were saying if it was like on the more confusing end of it, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, but
it wasn't the worst, you know, but like it was. Yeah, you're right. The amount of like, and we kind of mentioned this earlier, but the amount of like kind of translating you had to do to like kind of like read them speaking at all kind of took you out of identifying with them, which could have been very purposeful. Like, I mean, he might have been like, I don't want them to get attached to these guys. They are kind of the bad guy. Like, and maybe that was a way of going like, they're actually the good guys, but by doing this, people won't identify with them or, you know, get close to these characters. So they'll feel like the bad guys. Because again, we haven't read their end of this, so I don't really know how this all plays out. The old man at the end could be like the Wizard of Oz and be like, let's take you girls home. Glad you finally figured out who the good guys were, blah, blah, blah. You know, who knows? I mean, like, you know, who knows how this wraps up, but.
It may have been just me, but when I read the future people, when they talk in that future dialect, I don't know. It just didn't, it was a weird choice.
Well, okay. So I think what they were trying to do, because again, they talk in like, I don't know how to describe it. like
It's
shorthand.
it is like
They talk in,
shorthand,
like,
but street
shorthand
slang
meme talk.
mixed with like
That's what I mean. Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's supposed to show, basically, if you look at how Americans used to talk in the 40s, they would use like an expansive vocabulary and real words, and how we talk now is like. So I think it's just mocking that kind of de-evolution of English into just this meme.
That's definitely what I took away from that.
That's what I think they were going for with the future dialect. Basically, if everybody just talked to each other, OMG, lols.
Sir, multi-locals be gawking. Mission
that's what I mean. Right.
to ground some whirlies.
I think
the Trumpers, Cardinal. I want your troops to concentrate on transferring every school-age female here for School-age female here for processing?
I think it's basically showing, like, in the olden times, we'd say, like, 40 and 20 years ago, and today we just say, oh, mad pastime, bro. I just think that's what he's trying to do, but in the future, like, further de-evolution of English. Yeah.
School-age girls here for processing? He's the villain.
They're not school age. Look, they're 18 somewhere.
He's the villain.
So this is a tangent, but going back to so when Aaron shoots old Aaron in the face, I didn't realize how badly she fucked her up. Look at all that blood coming out of
it's her shoulder.
It's her shoulder, dude.
She shows it later.
Oh, it's her shoulder.
It looks like her face because it's like the blood's coming out, but like her shoulder's all like burnt and scorched up.
Yeah.
Back to me not paying attention to the art at all.
See, so Clone Aaron isn't that bad. She could have shot her in the face and instead shot her in the shoulder.
Yeah, look at her wounded shoulder here, Patty.
That's true. We don't we're pretty confident adult Aaron is trustworthy, but we don't really know where alt Aaron stands.
Also, the only reason
they mentioned that the fact that she exists, or I mean, she brings it up, but like Clone Aaron is essentially like they figure out that the 4 paper girls are somehow like outside of time, sort of like they can't be tracked or whatever.
Yeah.
So clearly they're using their DNA to like create little soldiers to like not be tracked through time. So I don't think Clone Aaron is like on the old man side, so to speak. I think it might be the future teenagers.
No, she's definitely a different side than the old man.
Yeah, there's a third side to the coin, so to speak. In
the third volume, you found out Erin wrote that message herself to herself.
I assume so. Yeah.
So when she wrote "Don't trust the other Aaron," it's solely based on the fact that she shot adult Aaron. She doesn't know anything more about her. So we don't know that she's evil or not.
Oh, well, there's straight up. Let's wait to what I'm saying, because I think she's part of a separate group, and maybe isn't like necessarily against them, but like not necessarily on their side either. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Like just like they're obviously torn between 2 warring factions of some type.
No, but the whole "Don't trust the other Aaron" was solely based on the fact that she shot old Aaron, because she wrote that right away in the next issue.
So talking to me and Al's love of Cage, when they find her again, it's touching and I fucking love it. And for the brief millisecond that I think Tiff isn't with them, I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And then Tiff is there 5 seconds later. I'm like, oh, okay, never mind.
Well, but so the funny thing is, they immediately split up again in the 3rd volume.
I hate it.
Yeah, they're constantly splitting up. They are never together, and I don't understand why, but
I feel like
up all the time.
I don't know.
I wish that was one spoiler I wish I didn't have.
I feel like 12-year-old me, if I was like transported through time with 3 other
I wouldn't
kids,
fucking leave your side, dude. Are you kidding? I'd be like, whatever happens, we're sticking together.
Well, at least as a side note,
to me that understands what I'm going through.
But it's a side note. The D&D group that I'm in, we constantly split the party for reasons nobody can quite explain. But the DM hates it. Like, he hates that we're always. He's like, why don't you just stay fucking together? So we don't have to like scene shift for no reason. But so maybe that people just have this need to split people up. I don't know. It's just part of the my favorite page and interaction of the entire first 2 volumes is what happens is they
They send clone Aaron back to the portal.
Yeah.
They call adult Aaron's sister, who's a helicopter pilot, conveniently, to bring them up to the fourth fold, which is where KJ is. And while they're on the helicopter,
where the stick is telling them to go. Wait, it's where the Apple device is telling them to go. Oh, and the stick.
So I love this beat. There's this like somber moment in the helicopter with the three girls, and like to Al's point earlier, like Mac's eyes are just like little black dots, and then Tiff looks out the window and she just goes, "This has been kind of a weird day, huh?"
It's been 10 straight issues of pure insanity, and Tiff's like, "It's been kind of a weird day, huh?"
And Mac says, "I love you, Tiff." And that was like the first. That's the first time I was like, Mac is starting to slowly grow on me from the first issue. But that was my favorite.
The fact that the other three girls. Oh, also Mac's kind of an asshole and calls Aaron new kid the entire time, even though she fucking knows her name. And it's like it's one of those one more things where you're just like, stop trying to be so cool. I did love how young Aaron talking to old Aaron, she would just be like, "Why are you cursing all the time? You sound like you're trying too hard to be cool." You know, just little shit like that, like, and just like kind of judging her older self. And that leads to that moment at the mall when they have like, when Aaron's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to give you the impression I think you're a loser. I really enjoy where you're at in our lives. Like I want to get to where you're at, you know, kind of thing." And she hugs her. But it's because up until then, she's just been like kind of judging her older self, like taking the pills, like cursing all the time, like what, you know, like just little things like that. And you're just like, that's adorable 12-year-old, like you telling you older you to like, I'm sure 12-year-old me would be like, "You drink a lot, bro," you know, kind of, you know. But, you know, I kind of loved all those little moments, and it kind of led to that like embrace at the mall. But but the little Mac kind of comes around by the end of volume 2. I slowly, begrudgingly like her more than I did at the initial outset.
She's still number 4. She's still at the bottom for sure.
She's still at the bottom. Still at the bottom.
The thing that I don't like about Mac, or the thing that is strange about Mac, is in other media, like in other 80s type of kids adventure movies like this, she would be the tough one who's like a good fighter or whatever, or makes up for like her general acerbic, angry attitude, but is somehow useful. Yeah. And this version, like Mac is not, like, she's not useful in anything.
Yeah, fuck, young Aaron stabs that thing in the head with the broken stick, like,
right.
And,
like she doesn't do. But that's what's weird is like in other versions of this type of story, Mac would be the one who's like, well, she's like tough and has like emotional armor, but at least she's the fighter.
Yeah, even when they're talking about jumping out of the helicopter. All right, so there's a portal in the air and the helicopter's hovering above it. They're talking about jumping into it rather, to theoretically find Cage. And they're like, those green things are coming with the eyeballs and stuff. And she's basically like, "Oh, the monsters are here." Like, and then old Aaron's like, "What are they?" And Tiffany's like, "Hell if I know, but I'm never letting one of them touch me again." Who's with me? And just is ready to jump out of a helicopter. Like, typically 80s movies, that would have been the Mac character. That would have been like, "I'm the badass. I'll jump out first." But like, instead it was Tiff, you know, and I was like, that's why Tiff's.
But that's what's strange about the Mac character is she's
1 and 2. 1 and 2. They're doing this the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, to me, Cage is number 1 because she looks like Catwoman and murders people, so that's fine by me.
I mean, it's funny because I haven't read 3 yet, and I didn't know she murdered people, but now I love her even more.
Yeah. But anyway, the Mac thing is weird because she's just kind of like a mean kid who doesn't provide anything.
I think that's kind of the point, though. Yeah, like it's kind of like she's the stereotype that's not really fulfilling her stereotype, sort of in a weird way. What do you guys think?
So, well, it wraps up with them going through the portal, and they meet back up with KJ, and they are in the past, and there's a giant demon goat etched into a mountain.
It's a devil goat. It's a Satan.
You think that's a tail or it's pointy dick?
That's obviously a corkscrew dick, you know?
Oh, interesting.
Recommendations, boys. Recommendations on the Mobius Couch.
Yeah, I'll go
recommendations.
First. Well, I don't know why we do this because we already do our overall take, but I recommend it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Again, it's a summary.
Al?
Okay. Well, I recommend it. It's 6. The whole series, which is now complete, is 6 trades. So it's not a 300 issue sprawling thing. So
Yeah, it's a fast read.
achievable yeah.
I just didn't have time to get any further. I probably would have read the whole thing.
Well, also
given time.
you're also a coward who was afraid to.
That's true. I am a coward. Yeah.
No, but I recommend it. I thought it was fun. BK, we've already talked about it, but like BKV he's just solid. Always writes a page turner. And Cliff Chiang, CC on the pencils there. Great work. Just always good work. And I enjoyed it. Read it. Recommend it.
It's interesting that it's not rare that you recommend things that we read. But you're more critical. I
recommend everything that isn't. I recommend everything that isn't that goddamn Jonathan Hickman X-Men bullshit that you've made me read more than once. But everything else I recommend.
Al, you're more critical than us in a good way. All I was going to say was, it's interesting that you're recommending it, not having finished the storyline. So, that's a very strong recommendation from you. Because it's not only you're recommending it, but you don't even know how it ends, and you're still recommending it. That's all.
It's fun. It's fun. Unlike that pail of vomit that's Dawn of X and all Jonathan Hickman's Krakoa shit.
Stop bringing up old shit.
Unreadable. It's unreadable.
I recommend it as well, of course. Cliff Chiang is crushing it out. Brian K. Vaughan is also crushing it out. The writing is just so fluid and all dialogue and just keeps you interested, and you're moving on to the next thing right from the last thing. Just the art is great. And I think Patty kind of hit it on the head with not necessarily Cliff, but the colorist, because I really enjoyed the bold and brilliant colors in this one. It's and it's a more modern palette, I would say. You don't see these colors in a lot of older comics and stuff, but I guess just all the pinks and purples and stuff. And I really enjoyed a lot of the colors, in the out of times, with the lightning and stuff and how all that looked, weird swirly clouds and lightning and stuff. And it was awesome. I really enjoyed the art just in a, this is pretty kind of way. But also those little moments when, the art, with the circle eyes and stuff went playful instead of serious, and he timed it so well. And I don't know, I really enjoyed a lot of where Cliff was coming from in this, and maybe it's the two of them mixed together and they're a really good team. I don't know, but they were doing a good job. Recommend. Patty?
I'm a little torn on, because I read these first 2 trades years ago, and I did not keep up with the series. And I think what happened for me was I enjoyed Volume 1 overall. Volume 2 was pretty good. But then when you get to the end of Volume 2, it's I had just kind of gotten used to adult Aaron being a character in the 2016 setting. And at the end of that, you're thrown into a new setting. KJ's back. And there's a giant demon on a mountain. And I was I still don't know what the fuck is going on with this story. I like the characters. I like the banter. But overall, the story is not, I don't want to say it's not compelling, because it is. I was just so confused as to what was going on that I think my opinion of Vaughan is some of the stuff he does is fantastic. Runaways is one of my favorite comics of all time, but he had a run on Ultimate X-Men that I thought was okay and not.
That was with the Fenris twins, right? That was terrible.
Yeah,
was that him? That was so. At the time, I'm I don't know where this is going, and I feel I can't properly recommend it without reading the entire series. Now that I know that it's only 30 issues, I'm definitely going to read the rest of it. I don't know if I could fully recommend Paper Girls is gonna fucking rock your world. It's amazing.
You know what it is, and I think, I'm because I'm with you right there on a lot of that, Patty. I think what it is for me that makes it a recommend versus a pass this on by is that it's all out already, and I know that I can continue to binge read this and read it fast. because the pace of this story is so quick that if I had to wait for this, I don't know if I would keep interest in it. So that is a very valid response.
Yeah.
But like the fact that I know it's only 30 issues and I've already read 10 and I'm like a third of the way through the story, I'm like, oh, I can tear through 2/3 of this in a day if I wanted to, kind of thing. Makes me want to like read more and then also makes me feel comfortable recommending it. But it is that it's a fine line, it is that makes it recommendable for me. But I understand.
I wouldn't say if someone was like, I'm going to go read, I think I want to start reading Paper Girls. I wouldn't be like, oh, don't read that. That's terrible.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I would say it's like a soft recommend. I would again, like, I haven't
not recommending it based on not knowing is a valid,
So it's interesting though, because back to Al just straight up recommending this because with Nightwing, even you were like, I wouldn't recommend it as like the first thing, but like it's a decent storyline.
No, but I recommended Nightwing though. I mean, I recommended it.
But you typically have qualifiers, and you had no like qualifiers, and I feel like I'm the one with qualifiers now. I'm like, I enjoyed
it. Slowly revealing to the audience just how picky he is.
Not picky. The main thing I don't like is Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah, that's not true at all.
So yeah, I guess overall, I would recommend it. If someone said they were going to pick it up, I'd be like, yeah, it's super fun, but I have not finished it yet. But now that I know,
it'd be a passive like.
Yeah, like
it could be good. Yeah.
Starts off. Yeah. So, yeah. Soft recommend.
Right.
I don't know if that's the thing.
That's the Mobius Couch, right?
Yeah, I think we did it, boys. I think we did comics for this week. We did it.
Good job.
Goodbye.
I just went back to my 12-year-old self, and my voice just cracked a little bit. Good journey. Good journey, viewers.
Good evening.
Listeners.
See you next time on the Mobius Couch.